New year, more great info here on the Love in Lebanon podcast. In this episode, we catch up with Andy Card from Card and Associates. More development details have been released, including 2 new hotels, plus convention center space. More retail and restaurants are on the way too. Get the latest details in our first episode of 2025, and it starts right now.
Welcome to the Love in Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to loveinlebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Good to have you here on this episode of the Love in Lebanon podcast. This is officially episode 196, but this is the first of the new year. And what a great way to lay some things out, get you excited for what the rest of the year has to offer. We've got Andy Card of Card and Associates joining us for the first episode of 2025. Andy, thank you so much for joining us here on the pod.
Joe, appreciate you having me back. It's always, I always enjoy chatting with you.
And Happy New Year to you. And what a great way to start this new year. You guys made headlines at the end of 2024 with the announcement of some things happening over at the Lebanon Fieldhouse, the Farmers Bank Fieldhouse area. Things are gonna change, and excitement's gonna continue over at that location.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. We were really anxious to get started here, and we've got a lot of exciting things coming for 2025 as we get to start what I will call our full cycle of a year. We opened up actually earlier, which was a good thing than we expected to. So we had a longer soft opening than anticipated. However, we still managed to bring over 250,000 visitors to Lebanon, and those folks came and got to experience the field house and different sports and different activities. And overall, everybody was just extremely impressed. I think we had folks from just about every state, but maybe 4 or 5 that have been in so far. So we tracked those metrics pretty good, and I was very pleased with the amount of traffic that we got, basically starting in the time of the year a little earlier than we thought. It was a great 2024, but it's going to be an even better 2025.
And I can back you up with the numbers, Andy. With so many different people coming in from so many different places, it was amazing to look at the map and just see how far people traveled to Lebanon, Indiana to take part in this Farmers Bank Fieldhouse. And heck, LeBron James was even in our community to watch his kiddo play. It went that far and that really global to be able to share that and to be able to market it and be able to have something for everyone to enjoy athletically. That had to be a big win to look at the numbers and look at the faces that came through the doors.
Yeah, that's one of the kind of bonuses. A lot of the current NBA players or players that aren't playing anymore, coaches from all around the country. For a lot of different reasons, these tournaments run through our facilities for all the reasons we've talked about, our operations, the quality of our facilities, locations. But LeBron was there, and he always brings a lot of attention, as does Dwayne Wade, and all the other guys that and even gals that came through. There was one weekend when we had 40,000 visitors in one weekend, and I got to apologize to the citizens of Lebanon. We weren't quite prepared for that. Like I said, we were a little early, and it was tough to get a seat in a restaurant, and it was a little tough to move around the city that weekend. So we're going to be a lot better, I promise.
And to be honest, though, that's a great problem to have, with restaurants filled and some of those folks no doubt staying the night and wanting to be able to spend significant time where they were having their young person be able to participate athletically. That's a great problem to have, where restaurants are filled and there are people on streets, and there are retail shops that are seeing increased traffic from all the zip codes that you were talking about. These are growing pains, maybe a little discomfort, but at the same time, it's certainly better than the opposite there.
Yeah, it's great because if you've never been to downtown Lebanon is really cool, and it's only getting better. And that's one of the things this facility is supposed to do is to drive people into Lebanon. We've got history there with all kinds of different things. Hoosiers, the movie, and it's just a cool downtown. The mayor and staff and everybody and the entrepreneurs I think you're just going to continue to see Lebanon grow into just a really cool kind of place to go eat with a different vibe with the different restaurants and the beer barns and those types of things. And so those folks were very, very happy. I think we ran out of keg beer in 4 restaurants, I think is what I was told, and they had to get an emergency refill. And so those are all kind of good things you want to hear. So what we've got to do a better job is just logistically. So we've met with the mayor and staff, the police chief, and we'll be much more prepared for the traffic and the people to move around next time, because there's some very large tournaments that are going to be headed our way, and it's going to be here before you know it. Tournament season, Joe, starts in April, so we're just a couple months away from that stuff happening again.
Gotcha. And everybody, if you've never heard of the Farmers Bank Fieldhouse or that this is something new to you, so many different sports for so many different walks of life, activities offered within the friendly confines of the Fieldhouse. On one side, there are, 12 pickleball courts. There is a sport turf that is used for youth football and also indoor softball, baseball practices as well. There's volleyball and basketball too. Upstairs, there is a yoga studio currently. There are batting cages. There is the golf simulator, as Andy is talking about. And I'm probably missing like 9 things that go on inside the Farmers Bank Fieldhouse. There are food offerings on the first floor as well. And if we can talk about the growth, Andy, right before the year ended, the latest phase, the next phase of what will be, Lord willing, many here at the Fieldhouse in Lebanon. 450 hotel rooms, plus some housing as well, plus some of the commercial space, convention type space as well. Can you talk about the Gorman Group and what led you guys to choose them and want to partner with them and bring them to this location?
Yeah, the Gorman Group has been we have chosen as our partner for the first 2 hotels. We can announce that the first hotel will be about 150 keys, as we call it. That will be a Fairfield Inn, so we know that for sure. The second phase, which will be right behind it, which is we're working on getting that pad ready now for people that live there. That's where our big ski hill was, which is now knocked down and been removed to the delight of myself and probably everybody else who lives in Lebanon. We actually moved it across the street to somebody that needed it. So, but I can't announce the brand yet, but we are bringing a conference center hotel, which is a big deal for any city. It'll be 300 keys. It will be a full-service restaurant. It'd be like going to a hotel on vacation where you've got full amenities with a big conference center. And that's important because now not only are we bringing in tourism through the Farmers Bank Fieldhouse, we're now going to be able to host conferences and meetings, at a high level like other cities do in Hamilton County and Marion County. And I believe it's also going to be a big assist to Lily and the other folks that come, not only for them to be able to have, rooms for their guests to stay in, but also, when a company like Lilly or Meta comes to an area, there's so many offshoot businesses that come to the area and create jobs, and those folks need to have places to have meetings and to have places for people to stay. So the big domino fell when we got the field house up and the first 95 acres developed. Now the rest is following. So we've got the hotel rooms coming on site that we will have walkability. We have 20,000 square feet of retail space that is already under design, and I've actually just approved the final the look of the structure, the conceptual of it, to make sure it met a standard. So that's where you're going to get your, some of your coffee shops, your restaurants, some of your amenities needed, for the folks that live, they're going to live on site either in Bel Canto or the other housing that we're bringing. So we're really excited about that. We've got a couple of standalone type restaurants that will be announced hopefully in the first quarter. So that's actually like a steakhouse or a restaurant you would go in and sit down in rather than a fast food. We're really pushing that. And we've got some other surprises too. In fact, most of the ground on the official phase one now is under contract or has an MOU. So we're now moved to phase two. And part of moving that big dirt mound is we now will be putting in the infrastructure on the next 150 acres, which is what I would call the Franson farm for people that have been around. And there you're going to see some more of the stuff that we put in phase one, but housing as well. And in fact, I think there was an announcement in the IBJ just last week that even gave us some conceptuals with one of our partners, St. Bergen Held, that's going to be a nice addition to housing for Lebanon.
And some of the layouts, everybody, that Andy was just referencing there, I'm adding to the graphics on the podcast. I saw that as well. Exciting stuff. And you tickled me with the ski hill, just saying. That was so funny. We've heard some folks talk about the dirt mound, if we were getting a new sledding hill and all those things, tongue in cheek. But that's been relocated. You kind of use the term assist as well, and to take your sports reference, what type of an assist is having things like this? Because being one that frequents the field house, great pickleball courts, just FYI, everybody, but one that frequents that field house, how great is it to be able to have the assist of being able to have not only a place to stay, but you talked about the sit-down restaurants, a place to potentially grab a cup of coffee and all those things. How great is it to be able to have that addition coming down the pike?
It's paramount because we're trying to achieve two things. One, we're trying to achieve something in Lebanon that's not happened anywhere else. And, we have built other facilities in other cities. And a lot of this stuff was planned after the fact. So when I originally built the first four, we assumed that other stuff was going to come, but we didn't really plan it as, the original phase. When we came to Lebanon, because we had the experience and we knew what to expect, there was a whole master plan over several hundred acres. And so this is all part of a plan. And it's not just about bringing tourism in and supporting the new businesses that are coming, but there seems to be a high desire for families to want to be able to live and even work around these amenities in close proximity. So what we have found, I don't know anyone else that's using a farmer's bank type as an anchor to attract families to live. But youth sports has become such an important part of growing up. I mean, it was important when I was growing up, but you and I have laughed before. I think if I had a net, it was chain.
Yep,
and so
there.
it's just it's molded into a whole new deal for these younger families that are starting to have kids in their mid-20s, 30s, 40s. They want to live around these facilities because it's an important part of how folks are raising their kids now, keeping them in sports. of some sort. And for all the reasons, kids that are in sports tend to do better in school. They don't drink and do drugs, et cetera, et cetera. So as all of that's kind of come together, building a community like this has really taken off, because we're doing this in about 7 other areas around the country now outside of Indiana. And it seems to be the right thing for a lot of places.
And you mentioned it earlier with all the traffic that was generated by the large event where there were 20K plus people that were filling restaurants and drinking all the beer and everything like that. There may be some that listening to this podcast will say, I don't have a child that's that age. I'm not a pickleball player. What's in it for me? That type of thing. What I love to drive home is the fact that, do you like good restaurants? Do you like to have different amenities? Do you like to not have to drive to Indianapolis to take part in a work function? All these things could be held at that Farmers Bank Fieldhouse location, and you can benefit from those restaurants that are added as kind of the buzz grows. And then you mentioned just that whole kind of campus that's created there. The folks that live here that may not have a kiddo that participates in any of the sports mentioned or may not do it themselves, they may benefit still from a development like this. I think that's important to drive home as well.
Well, it's very important, because I'm one of those people. My kids are all grown. They've gone through sports, and some of them didn't participate in sports. I mean, they maybe did something else. They were a gamer, or they did something else. But, some of the other things that people need to be reminded of when this kind of activity, although it's change, and, sometimes people struggle with change, property values increase. You're starting to see property in downtown getting bought up that's been dilapidated. You're going to see that stuff getting either repurposed or knocked down. So you're going to see a transformation over the next 10, 15 years, 20 years in Lebanon that's going to be pretty cool. And everybody's going to be able to benefit it in some way. And, there's the folks that are kind of remonstrators, are the folks that maybe don't like activity and like to be out in the woods, and I understand that, but there'll be plenty of other places around Lebanon and Boone County that you'll be able to be in those places. But it's not just about the sports. It's not just about people that already have businesses. Most people's homes are their largest asset. And so what happens to property values is pretty unbelievable when growth happens.
Yeah. It's one of the old adage of the high tide raising all boats. I mean, that is quite literally playing itself out in Lebanon right now, which is where I'm sitting. And everybody, you're listening to episode 196 of the Love in Lebanon podcast. We've got Andy Card here of Card & Associates joining us for the first episode of the new year. As I look out my window, Andy, I see snow, and we just had the snowstorm and all those things, the snowmageddon of 2025 early on. That is not where you currently sit. It is much sunnier where you are. Is this development, is it starting to kind of have that effect that you were hoping that it would? And when you and the mayor broke the ground on this and cut the ribbon on the development, is this what you were hoping? Are people talking about this development in Lebanon? You talked about being able to somewhat replicate what's taking place here, but is it really putting Lebanon on the map with conversations you're having?
Development in Lebanon was the first we did of its kind, and it's created a lot of conversation around the country. So there's 4 other states that we're currently talking to. I happen to be sitting in one of them, which is Florida. We've got meetings this week. We're going to be making a big announcement in Chicago. We'll probably have multiple facilities there, so we'll be going up to the west side of Chicago and making an announcement. So Lebanon has really started, this is the nucleus of this, what I was talking to you about. Mm-hmm. And anytime you have eyes on your city like that, and people paying attention that want to come to your community and bring jobs, it does other things like we've already talked about. But it also, when you talk about teachers, for example, well, teachers want to teach where there's good schools. Well, they also want to teach where, people, where they want to live. So it attracts population, it attracts teachers, doctors, all kinds of different things. It attracts to upgrade your community or make you guys on your community. And then that brings, jobs, because people want to bring their companies to where people are living and are happy. So all that's starting to happen based off of Lebanon. It's already started in Mishawaka, which we opened in October. It's just unbelievable. We're really, really happy.
And you talked about some of the additions that could be coming down the pike that could happen in the next even weeks in the first quarter of 2025. You're getting a lot of interest from the retail sector, from the restaurant sector, of folks wanting to be part of this. Is that kind of what you wanted to play out? Is that what you were expecting when you were kind of initially having those conversations?
My whole idea with Lebanon, and when I talked to the mayor and the council and other stakeholders, other city leaders, is number one, we wanted it to be controlled growth. We didn't want to just be the next Whitestown or the next, Fishers or whatever. I want this to be special, and I want it to be different, and I don't want it to be like anything else. And I also really want it to be my desire is, as we pick who we're bringing here, it's maybe it needs to be different. So there's different amenities that we have that aren't anywhere else in Indiana, whether it's from the entertainment side, or it's the restaurant side, or whatever it may be, the business side. And I want it to be special, and I want it to be different. I'm not interested in plagiarizing anything else that's going on. So we've actually said no to more folks than we've said yes, to make sure that we keep up that quality that everybody's expecting, that I've promised, and to make sure that the growth is controlled and that Lebanon doesn't lose that Lebanon feel. It's really important to me, and I'm one vote. I don't want Lebanon really to change. I just want it to be more than what it is, and I don't want an old building that's boarded up and not being used to be boarded up anymore. I want it to be repurposed and used in its original condition or in a new condition. So it's a total upgrade for me, and Lebanon was just a perfect spot. And this is before I didn't know anything about, as I've said before, about LEAP or all this other stuff. Yeah. I grew up down the highway in Pike Township, and this area was perfect for our vision. And we're going to see it through to those standards. And I'm not going to, this isn't about the quick sale, the quick buck. We're going to do it the right way and make sure it's sustainable, and that downtown, old and new, come together in a good way.
That's very well said. And to be honest, and everybody, before we hit record, it sounds like, again, to use another sports pun, and forgive me for that, Andy, it sounds like you're in the red zone with a couple of different of those unique offerings that you were hoping for. You mentioned you said some no's to some folks that wanted to just fill ground, but it sounds like you're close to some yeses on some of those ones that will really catch the attention of not only the folks in the region, but also locally as well.
I got some really cool stuff that I think is going to happen. And I'm excited. But again, it's got to be done the right way. It's got to be done with the right architecture. We got to make sure that we have the correct infrastructure to move people around. And because my first facility and my involvement in Grand Park, that's one thing Westfield did a very good job of. We move 2.5 million plus people through that area, and believe it or not, the traffic really isn't that bad. And that's important. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. We can build anything we want, but it's got to be a certain standard, and we don't want to disrupt the folks that might not be coming to a basketball game, but maybe they're going to come have a steak or a pizza or whatever.
Yeah, and spending some time over in the Grand Park area, there are those unique type places as well. And so if those are the types of attractions that you're going to bring in, man, that would be phenomenal. Everybody, I tried before we hit record, trying to pull on that thread to get Andy to kind of say some things, but he's pretty tight-lipped about it for right now. But I'm guessing that that those lips might be open up and you'd be spreading some more good news here sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different developer. Until I have something for sure and signed, I don't go out there and just start talking about stuff just to sound good.
Yeah.
I think if you go back, about everything you and I've talked about has happened, and that's important to me. There is exciting things to come, and we just happen to be blessed in a position right now to where we can be a little more choosy and a little more patient than maybe some other projects, and largely due to LEAP. I mean, I know there's people out there that aren't the biggest fans of it, but it will be transformational in a positive way for all of Boone County and Indiana, quite frankly, period, because you've got leaders that are going to do it the right way, and this is the amenities that you get with really high-paying jobs. It's all good if we work together for the same goal.
Absolutely. And it's good to be selective, like you're getting at. It's good to be selective to be able to
Yes, it is.
really get what you want. 278,000 total visitors, and that's just in the last year. And Andy was talking about how it was kind of after the really big, busy part of the season that's still significant, including 57,000 people through the old turnstile in July and 54K in April. That's amazing, Andy, and can't wait to see what you guys have in store. You mentioned volleyball is really rocking and rolling. We're going to see some more hoops going down as well. Sounds like the sky's the limit at this field house in the new year.
Yeah, the hoops have obviously gone crazy just because we were able to open up capacity and make it easier for folks in Boone County and that area, the west side of Indianapolis, to get there. But volleyball has come out of the gate. Go Time Volleyball has come out of the gate. And not only is it just the number of kids, we're freaking competitive. I mean, we're winning.
I can't imagine you being in any league and not wanting to win it. So it's
we
not a
like
shock
to
here.
win. But again, that gets down to the quality of our coaching and our organization, which isn't me. You know, I'm the one that gets to do these interviews and gets to get my face in the paper. But the team of, I've got hundreds of people underneath me, from the officials to the coaches. And, again, it's the same standard I bring to our organization with our leagues. It's going to be first class. It's going to be done right. The pricing's going to be competitive, but we're going to create winners and opportunities. Whether you go on in life to play in college or high school or not, we're about using sports to make, kids better. And everybody plays. I don't care what your economic situation is. Everybody plays in my facility. So at the end of the day, it's not just about making money and tourism. It's about creating a better community. And that's what we're doing, and that's what's happening.
That's awesome. Andy, thanks so much for starting off 2025 with us. Best of luck the rest of the year, and can't wait to have you back here on Indiana soil, and hope you have safe travels from Florida back up home.
All right. I appreciate you as always, Joe. Thank you for your support.
And everybody, just FYI, we mentioned kind of the layout that Andy talked about in the IBJ. I'll put that with the graphic, but also in the body of the podcast, some of the leagues and things that Andy was talking about. Not too late to take advantage of the golf simulators and some pickleball leagues coming up, things like that. I'll direct you to the link for the Farmers Bank Fieldhouse as well. See all the great programming taking place there. And we all look forward to hearing some great news coming up soon about other amenities headed to this space. Andy, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks again, Joe. Appreciate you.
Guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Love in Lebanon podcast, kicking off 2025. We'll chat again soon. Take care.